Hi, it's Jared from Strongroots Farm. Welcome back. How to build proper fence. Today we're going to be setting our corner posts. So that's the first kind of task once you figure out where your fence is going to be at. We're also going to show you how to set a corner post when it comes to a gate, how to make that spacing for a gate. Stick around with us. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. First, I want to apologize for the wind. It is very windy today, but we're doing the work today and I have to film it today. This is a real farm. We have to get work done. I'm trying to teach you. So I'll try to stand so that the wind doesn't affect the video, but I apologize if it does. Throughout this series, what we're doing is we have a fence here. We're going to be building high tensile fence. I will bring in the woven wire and talk about how to do that the same way as we build. But this section of fence, all the way down to that other end, it's about 600 feet. This is the fence that we'll be building as an example to show you every piece of how to build this fence when you're building it throughout the series. So down in the description will be a link to every series. So every piece of the series will be down there. As we do more, I'll go back to the old videos and add them. So depending on when you're watching them, they may all be there or they may just be the ones we already have. What you should have seen so far is the vast overview. That was part one, how we do things, a vast overview. At the end of this video, I will answer some questions that came from each video. Okay, so I'll answer all those questions. So that'll be at the end of every video in this series. As you remember, if you've watched that first part of that series through the vast overview, we want to figure out where our fence should be. It's pretty obvious. We're putting it back on the property line where the fence was. My neighbor had a construction crew come in, tear this tree line out. It was really grown up and grubby and most of the trees were dead. There were really only 3 or 4 good trees that I wish we could have saved, but it was tore out. So we're putting the fence back where it was. The other thing I talked about was a survey. So if you're buying a new piece of property, there was a survey done. They usually use cheap 1x1s, something, a wood stake. They don't last very long. A survey is not good for an extended period of time. It's not good forever. But you should put in some survey markers to help you in the future to put your fence and know where your property line is. I want to show you what I was talking about first before we start putting this corner post in, about how we put in our survey marker posts so they last a little longer and kind of just to help us know where the property line is. At some point in time, my neighbor, who's really awesome, he paid for a survey and he had survey stakes put out, and then we went back and they drove in these metal stakes. Okay, so if you can see it right here by my foot, that is a metal stake. So what I would recommend is 1/2 inch rebar, cut it 2 to 3 feet long, drive it all the way down on the ground, but leave about 6 inches stick up. Then you take some I think this is 1 1/4 inch, but 1 to 2 inch PVC pipe. It's about 1 foot long, and we're just gonna place that over that stake, so we know where it's at. We don't wanna hit it with a bush hog or anything, but it helps to mark it and protect it, and it sticks out bright now. So all the way down through here, there are 2 more of those property line stakes, and they kind of go all around the farm. They're kind of everywhere that a property stake was put in, just throughout the survey. It makes that survey last longer. I don't know if that's really the right term. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but so that you understand, when a survey is put in, it only lasts so long. It has an expiration date, essentially, is my opinion and my experience with it. Legally, that stake is our stake. It's not an official survey stake. So legally, if we had a battle, we would probably have to pay for a survey to confirm that that stake was in the right spot. But when you build relationships with your neighbors, and that's kind of the key point, you have a survey done, that can help you know where it's at in the future, just to make that survey, more prevalent throughout time. You don't have to go back and have another survey done because that stake is there and you have a good relationship with your neighbor. But if there was a legal battle about a property line dispute, that's probably not going to hold up. That's all I mean by that. As we get started here, first I want to talk about the gate spacing, because that's what I have to do to figure out where this corner post is. Typically, I would use my survey marker to figure out where the corner would be. In a square or rectangle, it would be my corner post, and we would simply start digging right there, setting that post first. But today, the corner post or end of line post happens to be at this gate. So what we're gonna do for our gate, and this is obviously just a walk-through man gate, this is not a cattle gate, but it's the same principles. So we're gonna measure from the outside of here to the outside of our gate, and I typically add 4 to 6 inches. to make it wider, one, to give me room for a latch, and you're gonna have a few inches on that side, at that hinge side, where that hinge sticks out to give you adjustments of your gate. Or you can simply put the gate up here like we're doing with my sons. We're gonna make a mark on the ground down here where this corner post goes, and we're gonna start digging a hole. We're gonna put these corner posts and these gate posts in concrete. Now, luckily, this post here is already in concrete where we put it originally, and this is kind of where the tree line started. So I'm gonna use this as my hinge gate. It is a bigger gate, but for a small man gate, you can use the 4 to 6 inch posts. For a big 16-foot gate, I recommend the 6 to 8 foot posts. I mean, 4 to 6 inch diameter, 6 to 8 inch diameter. So we're gonna go ahead and get this hole started, and then we'll talk about that. All right, the boys have been digging. They have a pretty good hole. It's hard to see, but they are about 3 feet deep. So you can see my post hole digger here. We drop it down into the hole. Very little left, right? It's pretty deep on these posts, which is why I buy 8-foot posts. I just buy them all 8 foot, but at least for your corner posts and your gate posts, I put 8-foot posts to get these things as deep as I can and get them surrounded in concrete. Diameter of the hole. Whatever the diameter of your post is, go at least twice that. So if you have a 6-inch post, you want a 12-inch hole. So now we're gonna go ahead and set this post in the hole and check for our gate, because we have that, or you could be using the measuring tape. Hold this right there. Okay, we're just gonna come to this side of the hole a little bit. That looks good right there. We're gonna put in our concrete. Some people call this a dry pour, and it essentially is. You can mix this however you choose. If you wanna mix it outside and shovel it in as wet concrete, fine. What I do is I put some water in the bottom of the hole first, then I'll pour in the concrete, and then I'll put more water on top of it. I've done this for years, never had a problem. That's kind of the way I do it. And I only set these in concrete just because of the sheer weight of the corners and the gates. You can drive these and be just fine if you choose not to do this in concrete. This is just how we choose to set them. So got our water in our hole, cut our bag open, pour in our concrete. I've got a 60-pound bag of Quickcrete, high strength. Wiggle our post around a little bit, get it set where we want, pour in some more water. That'll be the first bag, and we'll do another bag the same way. So that's 120 pounds per post is what I'm putting. Essentially, I like to fill the hole as high as I can. Let go. All right, so that's in. Now we're gonna get our level, and we'll get this corner post set in place, tack it up. We put our gate back up there just to do some measurements. It could have been a little tighter, but it's all right. Our hinges will stick out a little further, and that's fine. It gives us lots of adjustment. We're gonna put an automatic quick latch. This is just a gate to go in and out, to get on each side of the fence without climbing over to weed eat. It's not a big deal for us, and it also gives our neighbor a place to come to if he wants to walk. But we're using the gate to determine plumb, right? Up and down, level up and down, basically, if you're not understanding there. So that's what we're using. I'm not bringing a level out here. You can check it with a level. I have learned over time, and you'll see through the other videos in this series, it's better to use your eyeballs than it is to use a level. I'll explain that later as we go through, and you'll see why. But that's what we're using, is the gate tells us, okay, it's straight up and down. If anything, we want it leaning away from the way that the fence is going, just a hair, if you were using a level. Concrete is in there, it's set up. We're gonna take some of that clay, pack it back on top, and our corner post is set. So as you see, it was pretty full. We were only about 6 inches from the top with the concrete. Ruger is simply taking the clay, which you can tell there, and we're gonna pack it back in, tamp it down. and this post will be set for decades to come. Well, there you have it. We got the boys filling the hole. The corner post is set. We are good to go. The next step, we're going to run a string and start putting in our line posts, and we also have to build our H-brace. So since I have help today, we're going to start driving line posts. I can let them go with the driver and start driving while I build the H-brace. That's 2 different videos. So we're going to get this done. Follow along with us. Appreciate everybody watching. Leave your comments down below. Leave your questions why. And I have some questions at this point from the previous video that I want to go over real quick. So the first question was, well, what size posts, diameter-wise, when I talk about sizing, do you use for your gate posts, for your hinge side? And I'm going to say it depends, which is an awful answer. But if you're using a little man gate like this, a 5 to 6 inch, like we put in today, is just fine. If you're using a 16-foot gate, which is what I recommend most of your gates be, you can use a 5 to 6 inch post if you have a hanger on the other side to keep the weight of the gate from sagging. So if all of that weight of that gate is on the hinge side post, you might want to use a bigger post. But if you have an auto latch or you put a peg, which we'll show later when we install gates, that holds the weight of that gate off when it's shut, you can use a 5 to 6 inch post. If this is a gate that you go in and out of every day, I would go ahead and put a 6 to 8 inch post on the hinge side in concrete for your gates. But typically a 5 to 6 inch post is sufficient for most places, especially when it's a gate that you go through 10 times a year, like some of our gates here on this farm. The next question I had was about T-posts. In my overall video, I talked about we put the fence in first, and then we go back and we drive these T-posts, okay? So why do we do it after? Why don't we put the T-post in against the string? It'll be where it needs to be. You don't have to hold wire out, those types of things. Here's what I have learned over time. One, the T-posts are tighter and in a better space if I put them in after I put in the fence, whether that be woven wire or high tensile. With woven wire, they get tight against it. High tensile like this, you need a little inch spacing for that insulator to go in. So you're better spaced if you put them in after the wire. The second reason we put in T-posts after we pull our wire tight is due to the fact that the woven wire especially gets caught up on those T-posts. They have those little nubs. It's just something else to hold tension off and to cause us issues as we're trying to pull tight. We would be pulling tight, however far down the line, we'd have to come back and shake that fence to get it unhooked from those nubs, or sometimes it would grab one and bend it over. It's just been a hassle. So I put the T-posts in after we pull tight on whether it be woven wire or high tensile. That is just my preference. And why? Does it cause extra work? The answer is yes, it does, because this fence, as you're driving a T-post, if you're driving them by hand, you have to have somebody stand on this side, kind of pulling the fence this way a little bit to give your slide, your hand, manual slide driver, that inch to get away from the fence. It can be a pain. If you're using a bucket tractor or an automatic one on like a weed eater motor, you won't have that problem. If you use your fence driver, you won't have that problem. But if you're doing it manually, you're right, there is a little extra work. But what I have found is that little bit of extra work usually is my son, and I get tighter fences with putting the T-posts in after I pull and tie the wire tight. It's just my preference. It's not wrong if you do it the other way. I've just had T-posts that weren't as tight, weren't as nice, weren't as straight, and it caused me problems pulling, so that's the way I choose to do it. My last question, which we covered a little bit in this video, is why do we use concrete? Why do we dig holes, especially digging holes by hand? So I want to answer that. Why did I dig that hole by hand instead of putting that auger on that we have and digging the hole? One, because I only had one to dig today. The rest of them were driving. The time it would have taken me to attach that auger and then disassemble it, take it off the tractor to put the driver back on, we had that hole dug. So we dug it by hand. Sometimes it's just good to be men and dig holes by hand. If you're digging a bunch of them, I understand, put that auger on. But we put them in concrete because I feel like it just makes them more secure. There's hundreds of people, including fence post building competitions, that don't use concrete. They tamp in wood or tamp in the mud down into the wood, the clay or whatever soil you have. I just choose to do concrete. I've always done it that way. I've had huge success. My fences are tight for decades. That's just the way I build fence. You don't have to do it. I'm not telling you. Today was a video about how we do it, and so that's what we do. It just seems to build a better fence for me. And with our clay soils, they tend to hold in moisture, so they don't run away like your sandy soils if you're down south. So we choose to encapsulate that post in concrete. Well, there you have it. I hope that video helped. Please comment down below if you have more questions. We'll get them answered in the other videos. Obviously, we're gonna be making a few more videos today that will be part of this series. So we got driving our line posts and building our H-brace should happen today, which you'll see those in the next couple of days if you're following along with our channel. Thanks for watching. Until next time.